Okay, so now the car is on, and all I have to say is, bleh. I don't like it. I don't know why, because it's not, there's nothing really wrong with it. I think, like, there's just no sunlight. Everything feels kind of plasticky. Um, I don't know. I think it's like a different class of car than the Volvo, so part of me feels like uh, part of me feels like it's not a fair comparison. Um, it has basically the same stuff as the Volvo, and like, you know, the dash is very similar but not as clean. This is very similar but kind of busy for me. This is extremely similar and it has more chargers, but for some reason isn't as intuitive for me, and I don't really know why. But it's very similar to the Volvo in sort of this area, and that it's just not as clean, and that it's not as clean. The Volvo kind of feels like warm and fuzzy when you get in it, and this kind of just feels stark and cold. And the rear view mirror is much smaller, so the visibility isn't as good. Yeah, and I think that's all I have to say about that. All right, well, I'll give it a try and let you know how it goes. Okay. All right, so I drove the same route I did at the Volvo just to try to give it the same thing, and I tried normal mode and sports mode, so it's currently in sport, as you can see. And it's the difference between smart mode and normal mode is kind of very, it has these other, like, you know, mud, sand, normal, rock, dirt, snow, all this other stuff. I don't know if that's worth it or not. It's not a nice car to drive. It feels really big, and it's hard for me to say if it feels bigger than it is as a car, but it feels heavy, and it feels wobbly, and it feels, even in sport mode, it feels wobbly, and it feels heavy, and it feels big and tall. So not quite like the minivan, but big, heavy, and tall, where the minivan felt wide but not heavy or tall. I can't even use the nation, which I know would change if it's, because it's not installed, but just as an experience, this thing is, I hate this thing. I don't really know as why, though. Maybe you could figure out why. But like with the Volvo, I just knew where things were. Like, it made sense. With the Volvo, the climate was part of this. The audio was down here. The vents weren't here, and so it was just organized in a way that made sense. This is a little weird because I don't know. The air, I don't know. I don't like it. I'm going to try to put on some audio, and I think it was, yeah. So I'm trying to use it, and I mean, that wasn't a big selling point for the Volvo. The features it had in terms of its tech, but its tech was very simple and intuitive, and I never got confused or frustrated, and I'm not having that experience here. And it's just, overall, I don't think this car is worth it. You don't really get a third seat out of it. I don't think it really has much more room than Ruby Slipper. It doesn't really drive that well. It's not very comfortable. Like, my back's already uncomfortable. I just think this is a big nope, not a good idea. The MDX was like 1,000 times better, like 1,000 times. And if I had to choose between this and the Palisade, I think I would get the Palisade for sure, with no question. I would get the Palisade. I would say yes, I would get the Palisade. No shortage. I was trying to think. There were certain things about this car and the driving of it that's different than the Palisades, but they're kind of both not great driving, and I think this was slightly worse because I feel less in control of the car. It's just big and it's wobbly, and I don't like it. I don't know what else to say. The dealership experience was fine. It was much more corporate, you know, but it was still friendly and it was still unintrusive. I don't know in the second half when I give them back the keys and say, thank you, no thank you, if it'll still go well. But that is my Highlander experience. And so I'm going to end it here because there's no need to do more with this car. And I love you.